Today, let's talk about the dreaded customs line. Navigating passport control is one of the most stressful parts of international travel. It can be confusing, time-consuming, and a little bit intimidating, no matter how seasoned a traveler you are. Here are some tips to help you get through customs a little faster, some tips on things not to do, and a super secret tip that might get you through US Customs when you arrive home just a little bit faster. Let's go. First tip, bring a pen. I know this sounds stupid simple, but you won't believe the number of international flights that people don't have a pen with them. Airlines are going to be handing out paperwork for you to fill out to be able to hand to customs once you arrive. So it is very important that you have a pen to fill out that paperwork ahead of time. And if you have a second pen, you can share that with your fellow travelers and just be, a good human citizen. And that leads us to tip number 2. When you are filling out that paperwork on the airline, you are going to need to have your travel itinerary with you. And you probably need to have it not in the cloud somewhere on your phone. You actually need to have a picture of it or a hard copy with you. Most of the time, the customs paperwork is going to require that you put down the first address that you're going to be staying at where you are traveling in that country. This is very important. In fact, when my daughter came to visit me in Nicaragua one time, because she didn't have to really be concerned about where she was going because we were picking her up, she had no idea what the address was of the condo that we were living in. Luckily, she ended up with a really nice customs person who came all the way out through the airport to find us in the pickup area to find out what the address was of where she was going to be staying. So he brought her with him, came out, got the information from us, took her back for her to finish her customs, and then she came out just a few minutes later. But it is very, very important for you guys not to run into that because, you don't always have those friendly customs people. You need to know what that first address is going to be. You don't necessarily need to have like a super specific address, but you can write down the name of the hotel you're staying at, or if it's an Airbnb, kind of the general address that the Airbnb has given you. But you do need to write something in that section of that customs paperwork. So make sure you have an address to write in that space. And that leads us to tip number 3. And that is to fill out that customs form as thoroughly and honestly as you can. It is a bureaucratic system, and bureaucrats do not like to see blank spaces on their forms. So fill out as much information as you possibly can. Again, that is why you need to have that itinerary with you so that if there's questions on there you're unsure about, you can refer to your itinerary. Also, if you are on the airplane and you have flight attendants who are walking up and down the aisle, they are generally very helpful in helping you understand the questions that are being asked on the forms if you are not sure about something. Tip number 4, when you get off of the plane, if you've not had an opportunity to use the bathroom before you're getting off the plane, you want to find a bathroom pretty quickly because it may take you quite a long time to get through that customs line. And you don't want to be standing in that customs line thinking that you're going to pee your pants because it's taking so long. And a lot of places, if you have a connecting flight, so say you have to go through customs and then you're getting on another plane to fly somewhere else in that country, you're going to have to go through security again too. So take the opportunity between getting off of the plane to getting in line for customs to go ahead and use the bathroom. You'll thank me later. Now, before we move on to the next couple of tips, I do want to give a shout out to my dad. He's the one who actually suggested this video because he has noticed on his travels going through custom lines for cruises and some other travels that, people get kind of confused on what's going to happen with customs and a little stressed out, and he thought that it would be a really good subject to do. So if you are getting any value from this video or just enjoying it, make sure to thank my dad below in the comments. And you know what else my dad would like? If you aren't currently subscribed to this channel, maybe take a second to hit that subscribe button. It is free, Moving on to tip number 5. And this is going to sound like another super simple one, but you would be surprised at the number of people that get very confused about this part. And it is follow the signs. Now, it may feel like you are walking 20 minutes before you ever even get to anything close that's the customs area. So don't be surprised if you get off the plane and you're walking and walking and walking before you ever hit passport control, because that's just, for some reason, the way they have the airports set up. But make sure once you get to the passport control or customs area, you actually read the signs there to make sure that you get in the correct line. Many countries have separate lines for their citizens to go through and a different line for people who are traveling to the country. So make sure you read those carefully. It's definitely true in the US. It's true most places that I've gone that there are separate lines for the citizens and for you travelers. And there's nothing worse than going and standing in a line for 30 to 45 minutes and finding out that you've been in the wrong line the whole time. So don't do that. And tip number 6, when you finally do make it to a customs official, answer their questions as clearly and succinctly as you can. This is not the time to go into an explanation about exploring your ancestral origins. Just keep it short and sweet. And no matter how aloof the officer may seem to you, do not be rude to them. They are doing their job. And they may ask you some follow-up questions, like if they ask you, what is your job? Like I was a real estate agent when I was going to Nicaragua a lot, and they would ask me what my job was, and I kind of got to a point where I just told them I was in sales because trying to explain real estate agent to them was a little bit confusing. And they might ask you, well, what do you sell? And then I would say, casas, homes. And then they would understand that. But they might have some follow-up questions about what you are doing there. Just answer as honestly and clearly and shortly as you can. This is not the time to joke around or try to engage them in small talk. Like I said, they are there to do a job. I feel like this should go without being said, but don't try to bribe the customs officials. No matter what country you are going to and no matter what you have heard, that could end your vacation real quick. Finally, for my last tip, if you are a US citizen who is returning to the US after traveling internationally and you don't have your global entry card yet because, that's just a nightmare getting right now, you should try downloading the Mobile Passport Control app. And I do have a link for it below in the description. The Mobile Passport Control app could save you a tremendous amount of time standing in that customs line when you return home. And the last thing you want to be doing at the end of your vacation is standing in another line, right? In this video, I go over updated travel tips and hacks for travel this year.